Star Wars The Last Jedi is just awful. Hey guys, how's it going? Anthony here, and today I'm going to talk about Star Wars. It's not something I usually do, but I have to talk about this. I came in and I was writing down all my notes on things I wanted to talk about, and then I was like, oh, maybe I'll focus on this, and then I was like, you know what? I just have to roll. Backstory, I liked The Force Awakens. I thought it was fun. The story is a retread of the original, but the new characters, I got to know them. I love Rey, Finn's cool. Good people, no problems. That's why it's sad for me to say that The Last Jedi is shockingly bad. That was my response as I was watching this film. I was like, I just can't believe it's this bad. Now, that being said, this is kind of a polarizing topic. I went and saw it with Ada Hop, and he actually loved it. Here's my basic review without any spoilers. It is a non-movie. Most of the characters in the movie go from where they are in the beginning to the exact same place at the end, with no change, and leaving me wondering, why did I just waste a couple hours watching this if we're in the exact same place we were at the beginning? Now, a lot of people are going to say, this is the middle chapter, Anthony. They're going to wrap up all the stuff at the end. Well, what are they going to wrap up? A lot of people say the best Star Wars movie is The Empire Strikes Back, and that's the second in a trilogy, so bleh, with that excuse. So look, that's it. Spoilers are coming, okay? If you've seen the movie, I'm gonna spoil it rotten, so go watch it if you want to. I guess go watch it. It's a big cultural milestone, but I did not like this film. So here's my spoilers. Here's basically what I want to talk about. None of the characters in this film end up in any different place at all. Let's start with Poe. This movie opens with the rebel planet getting attacked and they got to evacuate. He flies up and he's like, I got an idea. All right, let's try this. This is an intense scene so far. Like the shot pans down. It's kind of a boring opening shot because it's just like three little ships. What they should have done is like had the ships come in and then the big ships come in right away. Right away the Empire's like, and then it's like, oh God, run, kind of like the original Star Wars. So Poe flies up there and he starts talking to the commander. He's like, I have a message for the commander, and he's pretending that he can't hear them, like he has them on hold, and he's like, hello, can you hear me? Hello? And the audience chuckles and laughs. That right there was kind of shocking. The movie starts out by undercutting its entire dramatic tension at all, and that's going to be a trend. But Poe does that, and then after a second he charges up his laser beams, and then he goes in and kills or blows up like 10 giant turrets on this super battle cruiser. And the whole time I'm just thinking like, Jesus Christ, why didn't the rebels just win in 5 minutes? I mean, fuck, if one tiny little X-Wing can blow up half of this ship, who gives a shit, right? You know what, I'm realizing I can't even focus on characters, so I'm just going to talk about things that bug me. So Poe is on this ship, okay, and there's it cuts to back and forth a ton of time. It cuts all over the place from like one scene to the next scene, from Luke on the island and Rey on the island over to the rebel ship. Then there's this scene with Leia. There's actually two moments in the beginning of this movie that kind of told me right from the beginning. I was like, wow, this is shockingly bad. First is the first scene when you find Rey and Luke standing on the cliffside, and at first I know me and Ada Hop both went like, it'd be hilarious if they were just standing there for an entire year just waiting for him to hand up the lightsaber. Anyways, the moment I knew this movie was gonna have problems is when Rey handed Luke the lightsaber. He looks at it, and there's actually some tension built up because in the previous movie it was the big climactic end. It was like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? Dun 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 dun. In this movie, they take all of that tension, all of that like hype of like, oh, all right, what's this meeting? It means something. Hands him the lightsaber. He takes the lightsaber. Hang on. He takes the lightsaber and he's just like, and walks off frame, ruining any caring you had in that scene. Like, it was this big moment. It's fine if they wanted to make a comedy thing, but they already had that moment mean something else in the previous film, and then they just threw it out the window. It honestly looks like that scene was kind of shot for The Force Awakens, like right at the end. They were gonna have Luke like throw the lightsaber and then dun 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 dun, but they decided to cut it at the last minute because it goes right from them on the cliffside to another establishing shot of the island. And then Rey looks different and she's wearing different clothes or something. It's weird. I'm gonna start breaking these up in segments so I can just move on with my points. The Leia scene. Okay, Kylo Ren, they track the rebel ship and he starts shooting at him and he has to blow up his mommy, and he can't blow up his mommy, so other ships do. They bomb the bridge and boom, Princess Leia goes out into space and she's out there and dying. And now I thought they were gonna kill Princess Leia, mainly because Carrie Fisher passed away and maybe there's a way they could write her character out by giving her a good out, and that was kind of a moment. There was a moment where she's in space, like frozen and ready to, like, about to die, and then she like reaches her hand out and magically glides back into the ship. despite never using the Force in any of the other films. This movie doesn't set anything up. She's never even moved a rock, and she can float through space and go into the ship. It's just ridiculous. I sat there in the movie theater like, Finn and Rose. So Finn is a character from the last movie that they left him in a coma. We're like, oh, Finn, this new character who went from the rebels, or went from the Empire over to the rebels, and that's kind of intriguing, and who's he gonna choose? What's he gonna fight for? A lot of stuff there. You kind of like got to know the character. In this movie, after he's been in a coma, he just wakes up. He just wakes up, and it's funny because he's like squirting water, and he just falls out of his bed, and he pushes this thing, and it looks super cheap. So there goes all the tension of that. You know, hey, you know, Finn, I wonder if he'll be okay. What'll happen to him? What will he have to like fight through adversity in a moment of crisis, getting out of his coma? No, he just wakes up, and then Poe's like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't know, I'm up now. So that was a thing. I'm actually recording this part afterwards, so if things look a little different, that's why. But I forgot one thing, following up on the whole idea of undercutting dramatic tension. There's kind of what a lot of people call the Guardians of the Galaxy syndrome here. And now I know some people, AdaHub actually has a problem with Guardians of the Galaxy, how they always have a dramatic moment and then undercut it with a joke. I don't personally have that problem with those movies because they're basically comedies, but this is supposed to be taken serious some of the time, and this movie felt almost as bad as that, where it would have a dramatic moment, here it comes, followed by a joke. There's this moment in the beginning, or near the beginning, where the entire like hangar blows up, Poe gets launched back, and then BB-8 comes comedically rolling in like, and then he falls over. You can't mix actual serious moment where everything just got blown the fuck up with comedic BB-8 moment. You gotta space that shit out. Like, the Porg things didn't even bother me because they were just kind of around, and they actually made sense in the joke that they set up for him with Chewie, like, you know, oh, don't eat me. Then he's like, oh, yeah, you're my friends, and then you come with me. I get it. It was harmless. But to take all of your serious scenes, like right at the beginning with having the guy on hold, like, hello, can you hear me? Hello? That whole scene, having BB-8 roll out, even Luke's whole, like, thing was so, there's so many moments in this that are just comedy for comedy's sake and ruin any tension or any caring you had about what was happening. Anyways, on to whatever I was talking about last. Then Finn is trying to escape, and Rose kind of cuts him off at 1 second, and she zaps him. Ha ha ha, so funny. Rose is now one of the main characters of the story, and those two decide to go on an adventure for half of the film that means nothing. Finn at the beginning of this movie and at the end of this movie is just there having fun. Poe at the end of this movie and the beginning of this movie is basically the same. Finn, out of nowhere, kisses Rose at the end of the movie, and that's not an arc. That's one spike of eh. So Finn and Rose go on this needless side quest because they have to come up with this convoluted plan to escape or to turn off the tracking system inside the Empire's ship, or the First Order, whatever. Now, let's point out that this whole side quest didn't need to happen if the new person in command just told everyone what the fuck was going on. Princess Leia, after that whole scene where she glides in magically, she passes out and she's in a coma, excuse me, and she has to just sit there for the rest of the movie. And at first I was like, okay, maybe they did this because Carrie Fisher died before they filmed all this stuff. Maybe they had to like kind of twist the story around and put her in a coma or something, but she comes back later, so that didn't mean anything. So this new girl takes over, I don't remember her name, and Poe is just asking, hey, what's the plan? And she won't tell him for no reason. For no reason, she won't tell him. So Poe, the entire movie, is trying to concoct this plan to save everyone, even though she already has a plan to save everyone and wouldn't, just didn't tell anybody. So Finn and Rose go to this planet to get this hacker so they can get through the shields of the big ship that's chasing the rebel ship, okay? They go to this casino so you can have the same cantina shot again, but in a casino this time. Yippee. And they just kind of, they walk around. There's a small little chunk about how these people profit off war. Then they get arrested for a parking ticket and end up in jail. This guy just shows up in their jail cell and says, I can hack it, and they break out. Then, the moment I knew the movie was pretty much done for me is when Finn and Rose rode out of the city that they were stuck in on the backs of giant horse dogs. I don't even know how to end that sentence. That's how mind-blowing. Here's the thing, in The Force Awakens or in any good movie, it's usually good for your characters to like overcome something, right? It's good for them to overcome adversity and escape. or something. They need to do something. In this movie, they just escape because they happen to run into horse dogs, and they hop on the back and just ride them for like 20 minutes. It's not 20, it's like 5-minute scene of them just riding. It felt like the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It's like that whole scene in the prequels where Obi-Wan is riding a lizard. This movie, in some ways, this movie is just a lot of pretty colors exploding on the screen. There has to be like 10 space battles in this, and that's what the fanboys like. They like space battles and lightsabers, but there's no story going on. There should be like a battle at the beginning, maybe in the end. This movie is just nothing but light shows. They open the movie on Poe and the crew like bombing and shooting a bunch of the Dreadnought ships. Then they move on to Rey and Finn. Then they cut back, and then the ships catch up to them, and they start doing another shootout again. Then they're running away in space, and the lasers keep firing at them while they're doing their horse dog escape, which is like a whole nother battle action scene. Then you have the escape ships leaving, and those are blowing up. Then you have a planet battle with a bunch of on the ground. See, guys, it's different this time because they're floating on the ground. They're not flying in space doing the final battle. It's so fatiguing. It's so tiring because there's no story going on. Let's continue with the characters again. Rey has nothing happen to her the entire film. You might be able to say she slightly awoke that much force power because Luke said, hey, listen to those rocks or whatever. Otherwise, she just shows up at the island and says, hey, what can I do? Luke's like, I don't know. And then she leaves to go fight Kylo Ren. Now, you might be thinking something happened because she's like, I can turn Kylo Ren. And does anyone else find it funny that Snoke was like, you're trying to turn him, aren't you? Like, spelling it out for the audience. Did he read the cliff notes on how the movie is supposed to go? Oh, and another thing I forgot to bring up, Snoke. Why is Snoke a non-character? One of the biggest things they set up in the last Star Wars in The Force Awakens was, who the fuck is Snoke? Where did he come from? What is he? What did he do? And in this movie, they just fucking kill him. They just kill him, and nothing has been found out. Who are you? It's like they wanted another emperor, but they were like, fuck, we killed the other emperor. Let's just bring up this guy no one's ever heard of. And they never explained it. And if they explain it in the next movie, then who cares? Because he's already fucking dead. Anyways, you think there's something going on because she's trying to turn Kylo Ren, but at the end of the movie, he just turns out to be the asshole that Rey thought he was at the beginning of the film. So her entire arc is just a straight line that goes like in the middle because she's like, maybe I can do it. Oh, I guess I can. He's just a dick. So now we're in the next movie, they're gonna fight just like they were gonna do at the end of The Force Awakens. Nothing changed for Rey. At the end of the movie, she's just sitting there on the bridge like, I guess I can move rocks now. And I could just keep going. This is why it's so shocking, because there's like, this is a big movie. The Force Awakens was a simple story, but at least they had characters and character beats and character moments that kind of explain what these people do. Finn doesn't change at all. Rose just showed up. Now Luke is the only person with the smallest arc, and the only arc is that he decides, you know what, you're right, it wasn't my fault. Maybe I'll go do something to fix it. You can't build a movie off of that thin of a little arc. No one else has anything going on. Luke just mopes around, and then eventually he shows up later. That's it. Now here's another thing, super spoilers, I guess, if you've made it this far. Luke Skywalker's dead. Why is Luke Skywalker dead? There's this whole end scene where he's standing in front of ATs or whatever, and and he's getting shot, and it's fine, and he's alive. And that whole scene is undercut, being as cool as it is, because you find out he's just a hologram or a force projection or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And then he fights Kylo Ren for a minute and does this whole thing. And at the end of that fight, right, he says, I'll see you around, kid, as like a nod, a Han Solo nod, I think, right? Yeah, that was all setting up like the battle in the next movie, the third movie in this trilogy. But then he just disappears. Why? I kind of wanted to see the next Star Wars movie just after that scene because I was like, all right, there's the Luke and the Kylo Ren, which, by the way, I'll get to that in a second. There's a Kylo Ren and Luke battle. I was like, all right, I'm looking forward to that. And then they just kill him. And I'm sure he'll be back as a Force ghost, but why kill him? There is almost nothing going into the next movie. The only thing that's left open is where the fuck did the smuggler go? There's a scene at the end where BB-8 is in control of an ATST or whatever and just shooting people inside the hangar, right? But that should have been the smuggler. Why was that BB-8? BB-8's not a character with motivations and a story. the guy, not the smuggler, the hacker dude that got him in, he betrayed them at one point, and then there's this whole thing set up where it's like, you're gonna fight for the good guys one day, and he's like, maybe, I don't know, blah, 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 today. It should have been him in there. The top gets ripped off of the BB-8, and you see it's that guy, and it's like, oh, okay, he turned a new leaf to help them out in the end. I guess that's an arc. That would be an arc for a character. But no, all they did was have him disappear. So Kylo Ren, right? The name of Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren doesn't have an arc in this either. He's an asshole in the beginning, he's slightly conflicted, and then he's an asshole at the end. But one thing I noticed is whenever somebody says Kylo Ren, and it might have happened with other characters, right? But Kylo Ren specifically, as I'm doing right now, Kylo, that character, Kylo, every time someone mentions Kylo Ren, they have to say Kylo Ren. They have to say his full name. Even in moments of action where it's like, you know, life or death, if we just say something really quick, they're like, Kylo Ren is coming out. We need to go help him. And that just screams of a boardroom that's going like, okay, so for marketing, we need to make sure you say Kylo Ren in the script. So that way, you know, brand recognition, people know his name. You know, Darth Vader. You know, you can't just call him Darth. That sounds silly. Kylo Ren. In real life, Kylo's over there. Kylo's coming. Oh my God, it's that red Jedi. Holy shit, just something that's not Kylo Ren is over there, guys. Okay, now this is hours later. As you can see, I've just been editing the video and I remembered one of my biggest pet peeves, not my biggest pet peeve, but one of my pet peeves while watching the movie was it overly relies on the dramatic, wait for it. Oh, how's he gonna get out of this one? Oh, something happens right at the end. Let me show you. Oh! Oh my God! Oh, that just came out of nowhere a million times. They just kept having these dramatic moments where somebody would sit there and wait, and then something would happen. And whoever made this movie relies on that shit too much. Stop it! This movie was a fucking mess. It has no story. It's just action scene after action scene, ruining the small bit of potential The Force Awakens left. Like, Rogue One looks like a fucking masterpiece compared to this. It's shocking. Like, this is the worst Disney-made Star Wars film so far. I'm not gonna say it's the worst Star Wars film, because it looks pretty, I guess. Now, this is a controversial statement, because I hate the prequels. They're bad movies. The biggest and best thing about The Last Jedi is the fact that I can see the Plinkett review that comes out hopefully in the next 6 months. Mr. Plinkett, I'm so glad you have a new Star Wars movie to tear into, because the prequels, while they were bad, they had a story progression. You know, this is the beginning of the story. It ends here. Story ends here. This is just a collection of things happening. Everything with Finn and Rose can leave. Everything that happens with Poe can basically leave, because that one lady just didn't tell him what the plan was. They had to not tell the character just so she didn't go like, all right, fine, I'll tell you so you don't have to go on this stupid casino mission. There's so many conveniences, so many contrivances they had to make this story work. It seems like they just made it up as they went along. Like, I know there's a lot of people who agree with me because Metacritic scores have been like all over the fucking place. But I'm just trying to like put into words how pointless this film is. Rey is in the same place she was at the end of the last movie. Finn is in the same place, except for this time, he's awake. Poe is in the same place, except now, no, there's nothing. There's nothing to follow up on in the next movie that makes any excitement, okay? Oh, the smuggler might be there somewhere and that might get paid off. Whatever. If Luke was still alive, that'd be intriguing to see the battle between Luke and Kylo, and maybe Kylo wins. Maybe Kylo wins in the beginning of the next film and then Rey had to like do something. I don't know, but they killed all that dramatic tension by just, oh, he's a ghost. I don't usually get this angry about films, but I liked the last one. It had a little bit of potential coming out of it, and they just ruined it. But that's just what I think, guys. What do you think about Star Wars The Last Jedi? If you saw it, do you think it's the worst movie ever? I don't think it's the worst movie ever made. I just think it's a bunch of cobbled together nonsense. There's almost no story to be heard of. It's just generic, like, oh, we gotta get a guy to hack our way into the shields. Finn did the same thing he did in the last movie. He just did the same arc. The same story was like, I used to work for the First Order, so I know how to get in there. You already did that. You already did that in the last movie. I'm sorry, I gotta stop. Thank you guys for watching. This has been a rant video. This has been very, very, very cathartic for me. Very, very therapeutic. Whatever you want to call it. Why? God, fuck. What's wrong with your face?